Have you ever seen a movie and the first 5 to 10 minutes you can basically predict the ending? Well, that's because they're following a formula for telling stories.
In 2004, Christopher Booker wrote a book called 7 Basic Plots. In this book, he shows how 7 main themes are present in stories told throughout time in different cultures and different movies. If you've ever thought about telling a story, chances are they would fall into one of these categories. Knowing more about each type of story will help you better structure your ideas.
This first narrative is called Overcoming the Monster. This is a story where the protagonist tries to get rid of an evil force that is threatening him or his home, like Jurassic Park, Sherlock Holmes, or Star Wars.
Number 2 is Rags to Riches. This one's pretty popular. This is where the protagonist, seemingly insignificant, gains power or wealth or a friend, like Aladdin or Slumdog Millionaire.
Number 3 is The Quest. The main character has a goal to reach, so he sets out on an adventure to retrieve an important object or get to an important place. You know, like the Lord of the Rings.
Number 4 is Voyage and Return. The protagonist goes to a new world, a strange land, and he encounters a threat or his fears, and he comes home a changed man. Letter 5, Comedy. A protagonist overcomes a conflict in his relationship and ultimately lives happily ever after. So, comedy not only involves humor. Booker likes to lump romance films into this category as well. Number 6 and 7 is Tragedy and Rebirth. Tragedy being the downfall of a hero, like Romeo and Juliet, and rebirth is where a event changes the protagonist's view on the world and ultimately comes out a better person.
Now, this isn't the first time somebody has noticed a pattern in storytelling. In 1981, an autobiography named Palm Sunday, written by American writer Kurt Vonnegut, wrote, "The fundamental idea is stories have shapes that can be drawn onto graph paper." This is how Kurt Vonnegut graphs his stories. Stories start with a beginning and an end. And on the y-axis, there's an absolute happiness and good fortune, and the bottom we have ill fortune. The first story he describes is called A Man in the Hole. The protagonist starts out normal and gets into trouble and then gets out of trouble.
People love that story. They never get sick of it.
Or the boy meets girl story, where the protagonist gets something great into his life, loses it all, and earns it all back. You get the point. But don't take his word for it. In 2016, a bunch of researchers from the University of Vermont and Adelaide took a bunch of fiction stories and shoved them into a machine. Using machine learning and artificial intelligence, they were able to categorize all these fiction stories into 6 main narrative structures.
We can see that if we graphed them, they would follow the shapes that Kurt Vonnegut theorized.
So what can we learn from this? Well, we can see that as a society, we're drawn to stories with conflict. Whether it is to fight an evil monster or your inner demons, most stories revolve around conflict. So the next time you're telling a story, ask yourself, do they fall under one of these categories? And if they do, what conflict can you add to it to make it a little bit more interesting? If you like this video, hit the like button. And if you like cinematography and storytelling, subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.